A very good afternoon to you and welcome to today's edition of Joy Business Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business, and Masterclass comes your way every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m., runs all the way through to 2:15 p.m. here on your superstation Joy 99.7. My name as always is Yaw Anim Barnafo, and I'm glad to be your host for today's edition of Masterclass. Last week here on the show we talked about ESG, environmental social governance and sustainability. We talked about the tools to achieve a net zero emission goal all over the world and also here in Ghana. For those of us who missed that show, by all means, please go to our Facebook page and you'll be able to watch that show. We were privileged in that conversation to have Eunice Brichum here with us in the studio. She's an Associate Director for Energy Consulting at Deloitte, and she shared some wonderful thoughts with us. I think that it was a rather interesting conversation. Some of the things that stayed with me, essentially, and I'd like to just share them by way of recap, is that our daily actions as humans and our consumption patterns and our tastes and all the changes that come with it are creating a lot of waste, which are not biodegradable. And this waste is beginning to affect and literally kill our planet. So our earth is dying because of our activities as humans. And we need to be able to come together as a people. A lot of efforts have started in the United Nations and all other fora of conversation to try and save our world and save our earth. There isn't another one that we can go to if we destroy this one, so we need to take care of it. The second thing that stayed with me again in that conversation was that according to a United Nations climate agreement, global carbon emissions need to fall by a staggering 45% by the year 2030, falling from the 2010 levels, and also continue to fall at a steep decline to achieve a net zero emission by the year 2050. I'm sure you're listening to all this and thinking, how can I be a part of it? One of the simple things you can do is that when you buy electronic equipment, look at the rating on it, because depending on what the rating is, it tells you what the contribution to the carbon footprint is when you put those things on. Turn off your switches when you're not using them. If you have a choice to use any packaging, choose paper over plastic. We learned somewhere in research that plastic lasts for over 100 years in our soils. It's worse when it goes into our waters. It's killing the fish, it's killing life forms. So let's do things that will save our earth, because we have a target by 2050 to achieve a net zero emission. It talks about our vehicles and our emissions, our gensets, our power systems. It's a tall order, but we'll get there somehow. Heaven knows how we'll get there, but we'll get there. And the last thing that stayed with me was that responsible behavior is required to reduce carbon emissions, and this is therefore a shared responsibility. So you and I need to work together to be able to save our planet. Today we're moving into another area of conversation. Like we always do here on Masterclass, we bring you conversations pro bono to help your businesses to grow. When your businesses grow, our economy grows, our country grows, and we all become better for it. Today we're going to be moving into the area of lending and credit risk measurement, especially in this digital area. Lending and credit risk management, especially in this digital era. Our resource person today is a senior in the assurance unit of Deloitte Ghana, and also doubles as a quantitative credit risk services team lead here in Ghana. He's a chartered accountant with over 13 years of experience, and he has a vast industrial experience, having worked in diverse industries prior to joining Deloitte. He has worked on various credit risk management assignments, IFRS assignments, ranging from impairment model review, impairment computations, impairment model development, IFRS 9 framework development, gap assessment, IFRS 9 implementation, and other related assignments. He has a wealth of experience working with several individuals and clients across several industries in Ghana, and also experience in the application of IFRS in technical accounting issues. He's a credit risk specialist and has developed a keen interest in financial management. His CV goes on and on. When I grow up, I want to be like him. Our resource person for this afternoon's conversation to tell us about lending and credit risk. Lending and credit risk in this digital age is Kwame Osei Bonsu. Kwame, Minia, you're welcome to this conversation. I know we started our conversation before we came on air, and I hope that we'll be able to share some of those thoughts with our listeners. But essentially, lending is something that has stayed with us from before time. There's always people who have, and there's those who don't.
Yes.
You either get it by asking for it or working for it or exchanging value. At some point, you will need somebody will have more than they need, and you will need more than you have.
Yeah.
And so you will need to get in touch with someone who has more than they need,
Yeah.
who's willing to give it to you over time. As time has progressed, things have changed. They've gotten better. And so values like, if I had it and I used it for X, I would make X plus Y from that money. So if I'm giving it to you over this period, how much am I going to make from it? Businesses call that time value of money.
Money, yeah.
So sometimes when they are giving you loans, they will discount it by a certain period. All that is very confusing language. Today, please speak very simple language, because my listenership is a very wide spectrum, from the corporates down to the MSMEs, to the person who is selling shoes on the street here in Kokomblebele. So we're going to bring it down to our level. Lending and credit risk. What is this whole thing about? Susu collectors, loan sharks, people who are doing business in their garages. You have money, you are lending, and is it legal? Is it not legal? What does the law say about it? We're going to be learning all that. Kwame, talk to us. Share some thoughts with us, if you will.
Okay, thank you, Yaw.
I know you are laughing because
in fact, I'm overwhelmed by your introduction.
Yeah.
And thank you once again. Thanks for being on this show. It's always a privilege to be part of this big movement that you guys have started. I would say keep it up. We hope that Business Masterclass is going to be our second school, even after school.
I'm sure that my CEO is listening. So thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, that's great. So we quickly jump into today's conversation.
Kwame, before you continue, Kwame has obliged us some slides for those of us who like to make notes. So please join us on Facebook, and you'll be able to get some information, then make some notes if you will. Kwame, please continue.
Okay. So I'd like to start my conversation by making a very interesting fact known to everybody. We say our debt to GDP ratio is 83.6, which is alarming, and we need IMF to help us to be able to bring it to levels that we can manage.
I mean, what does that mean? 83%? It means that what? Bring it down for me.
What it means is the total debt we have as a nation. When we compare that to the total value we create as a nation, the total debt is about 83.6%. So virtually it means whatever value we create in a given year, we pay a chunk of it to our debt holders.
So it's similar to what some other matrices will call cost to income ratio. So for every 1 CD we make as a country, we are spending 83 cedis.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. But
that's frightening, Kwame.
That's quite frightening. But the irony of it is, United States, which is the biggest economy in the world.
Shout out. Okay, continue.
I would say compared to Ghana, we are doing better.
Indeed.
Because I think at the end of the first quarter of 2024, their debt to GDP ratio was 124.7%. Their GDP...
Negative ratio.
Yes. Their GDP is 28 trillion, and their debt is over 30 trillion, 31 point something trillion. That is quite alarming. But the question is, why is it that when Ghana, we go to where we are, there is a whole fuss about it? Everybody is...
I mean, but the mic is right too. You know, off air, I was talking to Kwame and I'm saying, I'm sure that there may be the business reasons and matrices, which is why Kwame's argument holds water. But for the ordinary person like me, who's listening, I'm saying that, look, this country you are comparing us to, just by their agreements alone, just by their double taxation agreements, good afternoon to my colleagues who came here and talk about double taxation, they can make some one decision which creates value, which takes care of something, and they don't have to sort it out.
Yes, and that is what our conversation...
I'm a Ghana, we don't have that leverage.
Because the whole point is, what risk are you taking on? So if you think that your credit risk is going higher, then you try to keep it within controllable levels. You will not want to give to someone who you believe will not be able to pay in future. That is the risk with it, because the economy ranks on capital.
That's correct.
If a new business is starting, if someone is starting a new business, he needs capital. Ask all the would-be entrepreneurs who are in the country now. Their single problem is they don't have access to capital. But those who also have the funds, they are also scared to give out those funds, because they are also looking at the risk that they are taking on.
Yeah.
So if you are bringing your business idea and I don't see how my funds are going to be protected, then I would be better off if I just keep my money to myself and I don't sponsor you. There are a lot of funds out there who are looking to support businesses every now and then. We hear it in the news every now and then. But our businesses are not able to access those funds because when they go through the evaluation criteria, they don't meet it. And it's not that the funds are there for free, but they also want to contribute to worthwhile causes. So if you don't meet those criteria that they set, then it means in their assessment your credit risk is high, and they will be better off keeping their money than giving it to you when they assess your credit risk and they think that they are going to lose out on it.
I'm smiling, and I see you smiling back because, Kwame, is there not a cause? I mean, for people to think like that, is there not a cause? If we look at our non-performing credits across industry,
Yes.
rural banks,
Yeah.
financial institutions, just across, the entire industry, just give me a number, very conservative. What is the payback rate, or let's say success rate, of people who borrow? We can talk about the reasons from here to tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But I think that people they are right to be scared. Though their action from being scared does not help the economy to grow. Because if you hold it, nobody gets the money to invest. We all don't grow, and we are all sitting down looking at the money.
Yeah.
So the money has to go. But maybe in your presentation, you can dwell a bit more on what we do wrongly, which leads to us not being able to perform when we borrow, and what we
Yeah.
can do rightly about it. Because the object is to mitigate the risk, isn't
The
it?
risk. That's true. That's true. So maybe we are going deep into the
Into the
conversation.
presentation,
Yeah, but
yes.
let's because that's why we are here. Because as it stands now, it's not about what we are doing right or what we are doing wrong. It's about the perceptions that surrounds us when it comes to credit. Because, for example, if you have an idea and you are able to articulate your idea well, and I can see from your idea that this idea will work, why will I not want to be part of it? Like I was mentioning to you earlier on, if now with what we know now, Microsoft is a startup in 2024, and he wants people to finance Microsoft. I don't think we will sit down to let this opportunity pass us by.
If we know what we know today.
If you know what we know today. Yes. So usually people are scared because it's funds, it's their hard-earned money. Look at what happened when the DDP people had to sacrifice their pensions and investments. It was heartbreaking. I understand people even lost their lives as a result.
Yeah.
So people have lived their lives, they've saved so much. So if they give it out and they don't get any returns, then I bet you we will be better off keeping our money to ourselves and the economy being as it is. But one thing that I want this conversation to address is how that risk can be addressed and how businesses will be able to evaluate those risks. Because even I was telling someone earlier on, the pricing of our loans, they are way, way, way high compared to other economies, because you can see that the risk of those loans not performing is extremely high. Yaw asked me about the non-performing loan ratio. I decided to dodge it, but let me bring it in this at this point. As of 2023 year end, the Bank of Ghana reviewed a startling statistics. Our non-performing loan ratio has grown from 16% in 2022 to 24% in 2023, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So
16 to 24 is high.
It's very high, about
8%,
50%
yeah.
increase. So if I have funds and I can give it out to support businesses, I'm scared, especially with what we know about how businesses fail and all those things. So what we need to do is to understand what are the elements of credit risk. If we are able to know those things very well, then I think we are good to go. We can get the funds that we need to support businesses. Businesses will use it for what they have to use it for, and then investors will also get their returns as they want. And anytime we call for funds we will be able to get.
I mean, I was going to say that, and it's not question time yet, but just in answering it, just sort of, let's go straight to your presentation. But I'm thinking that, Kwame, it's like the egg and chicken situation. You mentioned earlier that the rates are high.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking, could that be the reason why people default? Because they also look at it and say, how on earth am I supposed to sell shoes and make that margin? Do you get it? If you run the numbers for my business, the margins you're asking me for, they are not practical. So I will take it. I will do my best. That can be one reason. Could the other reason also be general business occurrences? Like, let's say, change in the business environment, change in certain government policies which affect other things. All those things, they will happen as a matter of course.
Yes, true.
But do we think that the high rates are contributory to the high non-performing?
Obviously, the high rates contributes to the high non-performing loans ratios. But the high rates are also a factor of the high non-performing ratios.
So is it chicken and egg situation?
That's exactly what it is. Because even if you look at the builder for any interest rate, the interest is just to compensate you for the funds that you are given. So you have to be compensated for inflation. You have to be compensated for time value of money. You have to be compensated for default risk, which is credit risk. You have to be also compensated for liquidity risk. That is you not getting access to your funds. You have to be compensated for it. And each of them has a premium. So that premium is what adds up to what we call your interest rate or your required rate of return. So at the end of the day, if let's say all the other risks are assessed to be lower, but credit risk is assessed to be higher, you will still have a higher interest rate to pay on your loans.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that is why you need to demonstrate to whoever you are offering the loans to that they have no reason to fear.
Beyond reasonable
doubt. Because something like inflation, you don't have control over it. Something like term to maturity, you don't have control over it because of the nature of your project, you need more time to be able to reap the results that you have to. Yeah. So you don't have a control over it. Something like liquidity, you don't have control over it. But when it comes to credit, I believe you have control over it. Yeah. If you are able to make good your payments, the next investor will not struggle when he needs funds.
True.
Yeah. True. So in my presentation, I started with what we call lack of capital. In JSS and senior high school, every venture, the number one problem, challenges that they are facing, lack of capital. Lack of capital in school. Even if they ask you a question, what are the challenges of the agri sector, and you don't know anything, just write lack of capital. The examiner will give you a point for that. And I think we laugh over it. But that is one of the key cases to our economy. Capital, money, I would say, is not something that falls from skies. It is made, and our banking systems make those monies. Banks create money by basically giving out loans. So let's say you came to deposit 1 million Ghana cedis in Bank A. Bank A is able to give 800,000 to business B. Now you know your money is safe. That's why you came to give it to the bank. Now Bank A has been able to give 800,000 to business A. Business A is able to turn up those funds well, and then he's able to produce goods and services that will grow the economy. He's able to export and bring foreign exchange. He comes to pay his loan. Then we are able to also make another loan for another business. But what happens if business A takes the money and he doesn't repay?
I was going to say something that some of my people will come after me. So borrow money for your business, and the first order of business is to go and buy a Jeep so that you can make a social statement.
So you see, that is the, I would say, the genesis of our problems.
Yeah.
Because if we are being truthful to ourselves, some people go for loans or finance when they know they don't need it.
Yeah.
Because they know the bank is giving out loans. Oh, I need to, complete my housing project. a project that you are going to stay in. It's not a commercial building
A
project.
non-income generating project. When you finish, you won't rent it to make money back.
Then you just go for that loan, then you pick it up. How do you expect to pay back? So at the end of the day, you have deprived another business owner, because the moment the bank is not able to recover what he gave to you, when another person comes to make that same request, because mind you, the bank has a responsibility towards the depositor. The depositor has given him his funds, and anytime the depositor comes to the bank, he expects to get his funds.
True.
But if it happens that he comes and he's not able to get his funds, the next depositor will also come, and then we'll have something we call panic withdrawal, and then before you realize, the whole banking system is collapsing. So you see, one action of a businessman can lead to the collapse of the entire
system.
Financial system.
Because it's a deck of cards.
That's exactly how it is.
We'll pull from here, we'll give it to this person. We'll pull this one here, we'll give it to this person.
That's it.
We'll pull this one. So when yours goes and it doesn't come,
then
creates
how
a problem.
are we going to continue the cycle?
Right.
Yeah. A lot of businesses, entrepreneurs have ideas, business ideas. I remember back in school, we did a course in entrepreneurship, and we were made to come up with business ideas, write business proposals, come up with interesting businesses. And interestingly, the ideas that came up that I was able to have a look at, they were superb. Even at that young age, people could think, come up with these ideas. But as we speak now, I don't see any of those businesses being implemented. It's been a number of years after I left school.
It's still on the shelves. Gathering dust.
Yeah, because they don't have access to those finances. Because if they want to pursue those businesses, they'll meet that roadblock, lack of capital. Why should we give you money? Because we gave to business A, he didn't pay. So why should we give to business B? So you see, your actions in one way or the other will not only affect you,
affect others around
but
you
it will
also.
affect others around you. Yeah, so my question is, as businesses, what do we then need to do? Or what do we need to know so that when we are going for finances, we will be able to put things right and then not crumble the financial system? Felix Dennis once said, ideas don't make you rich, but it's the correct execution of those ideas that make you rich. So you might have beautiful idea, but if you are hit with a roadblock of not having access to finance, then those ideas, like Miles Monroe will say, there are more, the richest place is the cemetery, because there are a lot of
ideas and unfulfilled dreams.
Unfulfilled dreams, yeah. And most of them stem from some of these challenges of people not able to repay back whatever they receive.
So, what do you suppose should be responsible behavior?
Yeah, for me, responsible behavior, we all learn ethics. Whatever sphere of life you are, there you are guided by some ethics. You have to help keep your integrity. Make sure that you pay the loan that you've taken. Even in our individual relationship with our friends, you go to asking for some quick loan. Oh, give me 500 Ghana to sort myself out. I'll bring it back to you. Then the next time he meets you, you tell him, oh, so because of your 500 Ghana, I can't have my peace of mind.
There is a particular company in a certain industry, I'll be as big as possible in this country, who attempted to start giving loans. Ghana, my beloved country. People took the loans. So now when you want to call somebody or send something, say, Debbie, if I'm phone number, we so your problem was a number. What problem do you have there? You took a loan. Pay for it.
Pay for it. And if you don't need it, don't go for it.
Yeah.
Because if you go for money that is not yours, you have to pay back that money in any way. But if you don't pay it back, then at the end of the day, you are going to just deprive the next person that opportunity. So we should all be mindful of this fact. So when we say credit risk, what is credit risk? One will ask, what is the risk that's associated with credit? It's basically the likelihood that someone will not pay back what he has taken, or he will not pay on time. Timeliness is very key.
And the reasons can be many.
Yes. So timeliness is very key because banks plan with your payment schedule, because they know that at this point these businesses will need cash flow, we need to pay salary. So once these repayments are coming through, we can fulfill those obligations.
Exactly, on the other side of the computation.
But if you delay without giving them adequate notice, then you are going to cause problems. So that is basically what we all need to look out for. I'm not talking entirely on the side of those who err or those who take the loans and they don't repay. But I just want us to know the impact of those actions on our economy. That's very key. So in credit, we have something we call components. Components of credit risk. Components of credit risk is basically telling us about the various levels of risk that we face as businesses who give now I'm talking to those who have the funds and they are giving out loans. If you have funds and you want to give out loans, you should be able to determine the specific risks that you are exposed to. If you are not able to determine those risks, then you are just giving out money for free.
Right.
Yes.
You should know the risk associated with a specific transaction.
So that you take the right decisions, the decisions that will inure to your benefit and to the benefit of the entire economy. Whenever you are giving out loans, there's what we call expected losses. When we say expected losses is you understand the individual you are giving the credit to. You make an estimate of how you expect him to pay.
And the challenges you expect him to
face
during the process.
Yes. So in your decisions, you'll be able to look at the specific characteristics of that borrower. So borrower A, he is in this industry. This industry is on the decline. So if this industry is on the decline and we are advancing money to such a client, then we are heading towards a default. So you should be able to know. And if you know you have that information, then you make an expectation. You create an estimate of how much you expect to lose. And the general business environment, looking at the economy you are in, what is happening, how things are going, because there are certain things which go beyond the individual. So it can also affect their ability to repay their credit facilities. So in a business, the first thing you have to look out for is the expected risks that you face when you want to advance money to anybody. As an individual, even if you are giving money to a friend, you should be able to know
or a family member or someone you know.
Yes, the expected risks. There are some people, personally, when they ask me for money, if they ask 100 cedis, I'll give them 50 cedis with the expectation that I'm not expecting any payment back.
So assuming they don't pay back, you can
assuming
live
they don't pay back, I'm okay. I can move on.
You have calculated your acceptable risk.
That is it. That's what I mean. So someone will come to me, Kwame, I need this amount. And I'll tell you, is that the case? Okay, let me give you, this is what I can give you. It's not that I don't have the money you are requesting, but I have assessed you and I know that if I take this decision, this is the likely result is going to land me into.
As you're talking, it reminds me of some of our, I always say that people are a function of their orientation. So some of our proverbs, go to support. I was telling you off here that it's say abwani hiya emwa nisunku. Say ubwani wiya nisunku. And there's another one I like very much. It says, "Say we anomani free suma." Sorry for my English listeners. It's when you take the bird out of water, As its feathers dry, its mouth also dries.
Yeah.
The whole one and also.
And also,
So people change,
yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
true.
You
That's
know, when they're
true.
borrowing, they speak differently.
That's
when
true.
they have to pay, they get haughty.
They get hot.
And then they can't see Mami Didi.
Mami Didi.
You know?
Kafu Didi. So sorry for the use of the chill.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So let's share thoughts on unexpected losses and stress losses. Then we go.
Yeah.
We let our listeners be a part of the conversation.
That's true. So expected losses are what you expect. So you take steps to mitigate it. But unexpected losses, when there are extreme macroeconomic factors that are beyond your control, there are expected macroeconomic factors. The budget gave us indications that in the upcoming year we expect inflation to be this way, but we get into the year and then the numbers are skyrocketing way ahead of the projections that were made. So in those cases, those unexpected losses, it is highly difficult to estimate.
It was unexpected.
So those ones you will not be able to in brackets mitigate it. But those ones, it is what it is. Yeah. So that ones you don't, as a business, you don't worry yourself so much about. But what you can control, which is the expected losses, you have to make every possible effort to keep it under control and put steps in place to mitigate those risks. Yeah. Stress losses, which is the extreme, is like what happened in Ukraine. If you're a business in Ukraine and there is this attack, it's not expected for you to be able to repay your loans. I remember looking at the Moody's report on credit and default studies for 2023. They made a whole presentation on credit losses excluding Russia and credit losses including Russia.
So you can see the true picture.
Yes. So with that, because all Russian entities were under various forms of sanctions and all those things. So if you are an entity in Russia, don't expect to see any difference.
Interesting conversation. I want our listeners to be a part of this conversation. If you just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. We take a quick break. When we come back, we get interactive.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a petrol source station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Owning a home is not just an accomplishment, it's a dream come true. However, securing the necessary funding to buy or build your dream home often poses a significant challenge. This year, make that dream a reality at the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair 2024. Join us and receive expert financial advice that can help you acquire your very own house. Plus, learn insider tips on transforming your house into a warm and welcoming home. Don't miss the 15th edition of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Take the first step towards home ownership and creating the perfect living space for you and your family. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Project from Cities and Habitats. Rent to own, and sponsored by Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited, where quality meets value. Sun Via Limited, safety and home solution. You think of a door, we have it. G&J Technical Services, G&J, the generator people. Clifton Homes, beautiful home, wise investment. Syntex Tank, air strong, air tough. Virtual security, complete security solution. Yobent security doors, protecting lives and property. DPS pipes, connecting you to life. Superlock, you deserve the best. Everlast UPVC windows and doors, the right choice for your windows. Another quality solution from Interplast. EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Get a house, make it a home.
Africa, Africa, Africa. Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass. We're here in the studio with Kwame Osei Bonsu, Senior Consultant Assurance, Deloitte Ghana, and he's talking to us about lending and credit risk in this digital age. Phone lines are now open. Numbers to call 0302216541. That's 0302216541. Pick up that phone, give us a call in your business. Are you in the business of lending? Are you in the business of borrowing? Have you borrowed before? Who did you borrow from? What were the conversations surrounding it? Were you able to pay back? How do you think we can make this whole thing about borrowing for businesses much better? Why is it that sometimes businesses apply for credit and they are not able to get the credits they apply for because they're not successful? How can we make this whole process better? Numbers to call 0302216541. You can also send us your comments on 05511119997. If you're driving, please do not text while you drive. We want you to arrive alive. But otherwise, pick up that phone, give us a call, 0302216541, or send us your comments on 05511119997. Kwame, while we're waiting for the phone lines to ring, I think there was an interesting question that I asked earlier, that there are individuals who lend money to their friends and to their families, and some also make a repetitive habit of loaning people money, and they put their own rates on it. The policy rate today from BOG for lending for banks is what?
It's 29.5%.
29.5%.
Yeah.
But people say, I'll give you the money when you are bringing it, make it 50% on top of it, or give me X percent. So they determine their own rates.
Yeah.
What is the conversation surrounding it?
Yeah, so
can I help somebody? Can I loan somebody money?
So in Ghana, because of the sensitive nature of finance and capital, so the Bank of Ghana has decided to regulate it. If it's not regulated, then people can just scam people here and there. People can just do whatever they want to do. Yeah. So in Ghana, before you can even give out loans, then you need to be licensed by the central bank. So that is something that we should all make sure we are.
So you can't do this by yourself. You need to be licensed.
You need to be licensed.
I've got a caller on the line. Let's go to the caller. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name, where you're calling from?
Good afternoon. My name is William. I'm calling from Dansoman.
Right, William. How's Dansoman this afternoon, my brother?
Recently, there's this online loan ability facilitators or whatever who keep bothering us with you give you a loan, then you pay or whatever.
Yeah.
I was in difficulties, so I was forced to just apply for one, which came with a 35% interest rate.
Okay.
I thought that 35% was an annual thing, or probably a monthly thing. Just to realize that it was a weekly.
Can you imagine that?
So they gave you 2,000, and in a week's time, you're supposed to pay the 2,000 with 25%, 35% interest.
Wow.
Now, if you're not able to pay the interest, they force you to charge the 35% interest while they roll over the main amount. So I just realized that, no, this was too much. So I had to call the company and ask them, why 35% weekly? I think it's a rip-off. But they couldn't, understand it. So I had to just put it off and leave the scene, like, forget about it.
Yes.
Later to realize that there are a lot of defaulters. Don't take a loan.
Yeah.
So I called them. I'm not making any money. I just called them and I said, you see why you guys are really having this problem? If you give it 35% weekly on amount like this, how do you expect people to pay? Now, my question is, are those people regulated by the central bank? Do they have the permission to be doing that? Because I know a lot of Ghanaians are falling, and they send me messages, threatening messages. They're going to publish your papers, whatever. You know, by the time you take the loan, they've taken your Ghana card in details, your voter ID numbers, and even to the extent of even manipulating your phone.
Right.
Is that right?
William, thank you so much for reaching out to us. I mean, the question you ask is very relevant, but maybe what you can do, William, is that we'll put out the number for Deloitte and Kwame's team. They're in charge of assurance. I'd like you to reach out to Kwame and his team after the show with the details of the company you dealt with, so that we can all do the checks together, and if indeed they're doing the right thing, we can guide them. But if they're not doing the right thing, then we can also advise them. I have another caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, my brother. Your name and where you're calling from.
This is Ajwan Joseph from Deloitte.
Oh, my brother. How are you?
By the grace of God, I'm fine.
Talk to us.
Yeah, I want to ask, is there a body who regulates how this lending and borrowing processes go in terms of percentages? Because some take 10%, some will also take 20%, some are also taking 30%. Some are registered, some are not registered.
Right.
Some will also give you the amount of money you pay in full within a month. Others who will tell you that if I give you, let's say, 2,000, I'll sell it for you 4 months. Every month you pay installment, so you finish paying it within 4 months. Is there a body regulating this? And is this compulsory? Everybody should register before they do this loaning and borrowing process?
Right. My brother, keep listening. We'll answer that question for you. You heard his question?
Yeah, I heard his question. So he's asking about regulation.
Yes.
And
who determines the rates?
The rates. For the rates, I would say Bank of Ghana sets the minimum. It's up to the institution to do their risk assessment and then add their other premiums.
Their margins.
Yes.
Okay. But there's a regulating body.
Yes, so that's the central bank is in charge of all financial institutions.
So Ajiman, next time you deal with any of those companies, ask to see their registration documentation with the central bank. I've got another caller on the line. Good afternoon, you're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Chidiak.
Hey, my brother, it's been ages. Talk to us this afternoon.
Okay, in a hostile environment like Ghana, that if you want to go into business, or you need to pay accommodation for 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, how on earth can you take a loan and pay for?
Yeah.
So it's a rip-off. There's nothing we can do in this country and be successful because the laws are not working. Thank you.
Thank you, Chidiak. Very passionate contribution there. But I think you made that point earlier in your submission that granted that paying rent is literally one of the key things and foremost things that we require as a people. It's not advisable to borrow money and use it for a venture that will not yield money. Because the question is, how are you going to pay back? You know, so people borrow money to travel. People borrow money to do weddings. Borrow money. You do the wedding, but when you finish. Phone lines are still open. I can take a few more calls. 0302-216-541. You can also send us your comments on 055-11-11997. I think I have a caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, I'm calling from my seven. My name is Hillman.
Hillman, you said.
To ask a question.
Right.
When you go to bank to take loan, upon the interest, there is something they say process fee. Is it normal? Upon all that, they charge you for a huge money for process fee, which is out of everything altogether. That's what I don't understand, and it pays me a lot. So I want to find out if it's a normal.
Right. My brother, keep listening. Kwame will try and answer. Kwame.
Yes, sir.
Kwame, Newman wants to know that, you talk about the policy rate, which is the minimum rate that the central bank will put there and say, for every lending institution which I've licensed, this is the minimum rate. You work out the margins because it's also a competitive market.
Yes.
Newman is saying that after everything that his lending institution will charge him, they also charge him something called processing fee. What is that?
Yeah.
What kind of this is that?
So that processing fee or the service charges that they charge you, they are not part of the interest that you pay monthly, but it is their cost of originating the loan. So, for example,
so it's the work that they do to make the loan available to you.
That is it.
That's what they're charging you for.
That's what they are charging you for. It's usually a percentage of the loan amount. So I think it's in the market between 1 to I've not seen anyone that is more than 3%. Between 1 to 3%.
So Newman, what we can tell you is that you can negotiate with your institution some of these rates. Normally, the rates that they give you, you can negotiate the rates, because your ability to pay is also part of the conversation. If they bill you too much and you cannot pay and you accept it, then it affects the relationship going forward. Okay, I think that I'm running out of time. Let me see if I can chip in one more question. Can you throw more light on credit risk parameters to consider when lending?
Okay, so I think that is very key. So to lend, like I mentioned earlier, expected loss is what you can estimate. So whenever you are in the process of giving out loan, the credit risk assessment, the first thing that you have to look out for is what we call probability of default. So probability of default is basically your assessment of the person as to how he is able to repay the loan on time and how he is able to repay the loan in full. So that is one of the parameters that credit risk analyze. When we are looking at probability of default, we have something we call the moral part. Some people are able to pay. They are not paying not because they are not able to pay. They are not paying because they are just not willing to pay. So when you're determining your probability of default, you would have to look at the nature of that person. So we couldn't get to the latter part of our conversation, which will go into the digitization of credit risk, where you are going to use tools to determine people's behavior. You will not be able to get it outright, but
credit history,
you'll be able to know that these people, they are able to pay. So when you're going for a loan, they'll ask for your financial statements, they'll ask for your your pay slips and all those things. They are just to determine your ability to pay. Ability to pay is different from willingness to pay. Someone is able to pay, but he's not willing to pay. I know people who change their bank accounts with their employers because they don't want to pay. It's not that they are not able to pay. So that is one of the things that we should be looking out for. There is an interesting fact in my work as a credit risk analyst. I came to one company. I'm not permitted to disclose their...
Not at all. You don't want any libels.
Where an interesting revelation was made about a particular church. Their default rates skyrocketing.
I think I know.
So they were able to gather information. So those information that you give out when you are filling those loans forms.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Let us. You got this here on Masterclass. If you were a business, you are an individual, and you are borrowing from any financial institution in this country, in the last 5 or 7 years, please, your information is in a certain database called your credit history. Anybody who goes there knows your behavior when you borrow.
Yes.
A word to the wise.
Yeah, so thank you. So that is it.
Yeah. Okay. So what's our takeout from today's conversation? If we remember nothing from today's conversation, what should we take away from here? As businesses, as individuals, as people who borrow, as people to whom money is lent, as people who want to mitigate our risks, what should we remember from this conversation?
So for me, what I want everybody to take out for is, for the economy to grow or for the country to grow, we need capital. And those who are giving out capital, you should be able to take the pain and do the right assessment before you give out any loan, any money to anybody. Even if it is a personal loan or a business loan, you still have the responsibility to assess the risk that you are taking on.
To the best of your ability.
To the best of your ability. And then on the other side, those who are takers of loans or people who contract loans to, I'll also advise you that every loan you fail to repay, it is denying the economy. You are stopping the chain of money creation. So we cannot create more money. So please, if you want the economy to grow, please make sure that every loan you pay, you are able to you're able to pay on time, so that you will not deny the next person, so that the economy will grow and we will be able to benefit as a whole.
Risk exists. Risk is in everything we do. Risk is in every decision we make. But our actions, if they become responsible, can help us to mitigate those risks. This was Kwame Osei Bonsu, Senior Consultant Assurance, Deloitte Ghana, sharing some thoughts with us here on Masterclass, Lending and Credit Risk in the Digital Age. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you same time next week.